Hey, wrestling fans! Welcome to the all-new Backstage Melee podcast. I am your host, Joe the Panther, Panther. And man, I always felt this trip would be a solo trip, but this young lady wanted to join me on this fun trip around the world and through the states of Pennsylvania, New York, and the tri-state area. Let's welcome Sabrina. Welcome aboard.
Hello. I'm happy to be here. We had two really good episodes that we did on your other channel. So we kind of like talked behind the scenes and we finally met at PPW. And so I was like, hey, let's do this thing. And so now we're back. I'm back, at least in the podcast world. I kind of took a step back, but I'm glad to be here.
Yes, so excited. And man, Sabrina, like now you're my fellow, you're my like cohort, and like on the Melee bus. Now we're gonna be taking a trip to around the states, the tri-state area of Pennsylvania, New York, Baltimore. We're gonna be traveling around to these different areas and interviewing. It's really exciting.
It's crazy because like we were talking about this, and like you and I both had our separate podcasts back in the day, and now that like we're kind of up together, and now like we'll get into this later in the episode, but like obviously I'm on to bigger and better things outside of the podcast industry in wrestling, and but we'll get into that later. But it's kind of exciting to see like how many doors has opened since doing this podcast.
Yes. You want to introduce yourself to my internationally known like audience?
Hi everyone. I am Sabrina. I'm not gonna say how old I am because I'm too old. I'm too old for y'all. But I am a huge fan of wrestling, especially independent. I don't really follow AEW or WWE as much as my indies do. But yeah, I got into wrestling with my dad. So this is kind of like, he's not into this whole like podcast scene, but I was like, hey, why not? And I'm a talker. I'll talk to anybody in the grocery store. So that's just me. That's literally me. I'll talk to everybody that I can. Anybody.
Awesome. I am Joe Panther III. I'm a third generation. If it wasn't for my God rest his soul, I never got a chance to meet him. My grandfather, Jose Quinones, the Panther, the original, he wrestled under Vince McMahon's dad. He wrestled with the greats of like classy Freddie Blassie, Killer Kowalski. Oh my gosh, the names go on and on and on. They're all in the legends. 90% of them are already in the WWE Hall of Fame, or they should be. My grandfather hung out with Haystacks Calhoun back in the day. If you don't know who that is, he really was a really overweight, chubby wrestler. He was like a farmer guy. My dad has told me stories about my grandfather. He got me. I was already into WWF, watching Hogan and all these people, and just to know that my grandfather did it back in the day, so far back, it kind of like gave me like a little milk box over every child that was in my class. Like, I love Hogan, I love Macho Man, I love Ultimate Warrior. Who's your favorite wrestler? I like Hogan, but my grandfather was a wrestler. Oh, mic drop. And then I started to like watch the Attitude Era with the Stone Colds and the Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started hearing about this thing that was happening is in the gyms. And then I got to school and I met a guy, a friend, well, was a friend, started bringing me to independent wrestling shows, and I started seeing this little, the wheel started spinning in my head saying independent wrestling is good. I never thought it was.
It's a different world. It's definitely a different world to be in.
Different world. And then I started going to the shows. I started a podcast with the guy I was good friends with. For 2 years, it was doing this thing, and then we decided to separate, and I started doing it by myself. And then one day, I was doing an episode, and I invited these two young ladies that were just different to me. That I knew that female podcasters, interesting, cool world. And with me, I love supporting women in any way I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then I meet this young lady named Sabrina, and she's just. There's something about you, Sabrina, made me want to make you part of my team. because you seem like you have a lot to talk about, and you have a lot of questions to ask wrestlers, and it's like me, I have a lot of questions. You have a
Mhm.
may not have the answers, but I may have the answers, and I just love independent wrestling so much, and I don't care where you're from, what country, what state, what atmosphere that your character comes from. If you have a microphone and you have a mouth and ears, and if you're a heel or face, we want to talk to you.
I will say we'll bring it back to my story a little bit. How I kind of got into this scene. My dad, I'm a girly girl. I mean, granted, I still am a girly girl, but I like wrestling. But when I was about 14, my dad took me and he's like, oh, "Come on, we're gonna go see wrestling." I was like, "Dad, I don't really want to. Like, I mean, sweaty guys in a ring, like that just sounds gross." And then I got there, and I am a very outgoing person. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast, but I got there and I met some of like the nicest people. I think the first wrestler I ever met in an independent wrestling scene was Jimmy Conway from South Philly's Finest. And he just like welcomed me with open arms, and like we were heckling back and forth because you got to heckle the wrestlers a little bit. Um, and I met like Kakoa and a lot of other good wrestlers, and just the scene was amazing. And then from the age 18 to, so I was going to shows from 14 to 18, then 18 to about 26, I took a hiatus from independent wrestling, and I was like, I gotta focus on my schoolings, I gotta focus on my career. I don't really have the time to be going to these shows. And then my dad took me to a PPW show, Pennsylvania Pro Wrestling, as everybody knows, and I fell in love with that company. And so I just been keep going back to that company. And then I met this girl at the company, and we started a podcast. And that was something that I was not expecting to open up so many doors, because in January we did our show and a live show, and that was intense. It was crazy. And then I decided about in May, somewhere in there, that I was going to take a hiatus from podcasting because I just needed a break. But I did come out of the podcasting hole that I was in for Miami Mike, because you said to me, I said, if you get this man, I will come on. It was a great podcast. He's an amazing human being. And then I gave you a list, and I said, listen, I said, I like working with you. I said, so if you get any of these guys on your list to be on your podcast, I will be a co-host. And that's when you got Johnny Moran. So I still was in the podcasting world, but I was still out of it. And then I got an amazing opportunity at PPW to do backstage promos. And now I'm doing backstage promos and I'm doing podcasting again. So it's a little full circle for me. And it's a little weird to be back on the camera like this, because I'm so used to, like, hey, Miles Hawkins, like, So it's nice to be myself here, because there I'm Scarlett Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be back. It
And
definitely
it's
is
so
nice.
funny, Sabrina. You know how I came up with the idea, the name of Backstage Melee?
I don't, because I never actually asked, but yeah, explain that.
I was thinking of names. I was like, okay, let me stay away from the ringside area. Let me get rid of stay away from talk or anything. And I was just thinking of names, and I was sleeping. I was dreaming of names and thinking of funny things, or something like they do with me with my glasses, and you being sort of a heel, and I'm like a face. I was gonna be like face heel podcast, but like that sounds taken. And all of a sudden, I just open my eyes like Kevin McAllister's mom, realizing they don't have an alarm and they're late for the cabs outside. And I was like, Sabrina's a backstage interviewer, and backstage is a rough place to be. Backstage melee. Backstage melee. It's like melee. Think of a brawl. Everybody's backstage, and you're like, and I'm going like this. I don't know what to do. I'm just scared. I'm just gonna stand right here behind her. She's taller than me. Like,
It's an intense process. I'll be honest with you. Like, I did my second show already, so like we kind of got that out of the way. But my first show, I was very nervous. You were there at that show, and I literally like looked at you, and I was like, "Hi, like, I'm really nervous. I gotta go backstage." Um, but yeah, it's definitely crazy. But like we come from such an independent background. Like we love. I go to so many shows. Obviously, I go to like MCW in Maryland. I go to CZW in Maryland. Um, PPW. I go to Smash Wrestling up in Scranton. Like I do it all. And so it's nice because there's a lot of wrestlers that I haven't gotten a chance to speak to, and I still have a lot of questions for some of these wrestlers because it's like, you know, especially for our first guest that's coming, in the
Ooh, you want to break
next.
the news now, or do you want to wait a little longer in the episode?
Oh, I think we'll wait a little longer. It's gonna kill me because like I'm terrible at keeping secrets, but
Yeah, me
we'll wait till
too. See, that's the
after.
reason why another reason we get along so well. If you know Sassy Chica, she will tell you to the face. Don't tell shit to Joe. Don't tell
No,
shit to Joe.
no, but like our guest is coming on that we will reveal later in this episode. You're gonna have to stay tuned to find out. Um, this guy, I am so excited because I literally like had my first one-on-one conversation with him not too long ago, and there are so many questions that I have for him because of his character. I guess we'll call it his character and just like the way he presents himself, and it's kind of just like I am so excited. But me and Joe just wanted to pop on here tonight and also like say that we do have like a lot of wrestlers that we have in mind. However, if you guys have some ideas, please shoot us and a comment down there. Our Instagram should be up shortly. We are still figuring that out.
Yes.
But like we just
If you
decided to
ever
pop on
if you
here.
want to message us on, well, currently now, Dudes at Ringside Podcast, that's the page that we will have open for a while. Never know. One day that may become the main page for the melee, but that was my main hub for about 2 years. So I don't really want to get rid of Dudes at Ringside because, you know, Serena could jump on there with me as always, and we just keep rolling. But that's my number two child. I can't put him up for adoption because he's been there with me riding the rails. So like, yeah.
That's how I felt like a little bit with my other podcast. I couldn't really get rid of the whole like, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with our viewers. I literally almost came on here and was like, "Hey guys, welcome to," and then I almost said my old name, and then I was like, "Yeah, no, that's we gotta fix the way that we're saying things now."
Yeah.
Which is taking me back, and it's also like it's hard to be like, "Hello, PPW Nation." Like it's hard to turn my TV self off now. Um, but yeah, no. So like obviously we both love independent wrestling. That's exactly why we both came together. Um, if you guys also have any shows that are coming up, because like I pretty much know the shows, but like if you guys have any shows that are coming up, you guys are like, hey, you should check it out. Let us know. Like we are very laid back people, so like don't expect this podcast to be like prim and proper. I'm sure there will be a lot
Look
of
at my
fun.
microphone. It's covered in beads. Look like I was at Mardi Gras. I got I got wrestlers like pops on my their little dolls on my microphone. Like, so you can't see in front of me. I have pops. I have Legos all positioned in front of me. My video game controller right next to me. I'm not laid back.
Well, it's crazy because we weren't even gonna film an introductory episode, guys. We were just gonna go right into our first guest, which I think I'll say it now. I think this is a good time.
Drum roll, please.
Um, well, I'm gonna pull up the Instagram first because they have to have a picture with the name because some people don't know him. It's a him, guys. We are having the one, the only Hellfire McGuire. He is currently, we'll get into this for his interview, but he's currently the manager for Miami Mike, which brings us another full circle because we had Miami Mike on Dudes at Ringside podcast. Obviously, if you guys come from that podcast, you have seen that Well, that episode was very intense, as you
Oh,
will. It was
geez.
fun. It was fun, but it was intense. So we don't know what to expect with Hellfire McGuire, but what I will tell you though is this man, when I first saw him come out of this ring, was wearing blue bedazzled shoes and a pink tuxedo, and I was like, this guy is either really stylish or he just is very good with being like, woo, look at me, I'm flashy, I've got my pink jacket and I've got my blue bedazzled shoes. We don't know, but we will be getting to the bottom of it. Which that I don't know when that's gonna air because I didn't get there yet.
Yes.
But we are interviewing him in the next few days. That's what I'll just say to you guys.
Yeah.
We're kind of dropping some spoilers here.
Yeah.
We
There's so
have
many
to.
wrestlers from the Baltimore promotion that we want to get on. If you're big fans of any wrestler from that promotion, is it MCW, right?
Yeah, MCW. Mhm.
MCW, we want the owner, we want the promoter, we want half the roster. We would love to have the tag team champion, the main champion, the
The
women's
TV champion.
TV champion. We want to have people back from PPW, from Paul Bow to we want but we're gonna stay in the tri-state area. We want to go to New York. We have like people from NYWC to VPW to like any promotion, that even the little ones, the promotions like Powers House of Pain in Allentown,
There's also 5-star wrestling.
5-star
It's
wrestling,
a new one.
WWA, that's
Hmm.
in over in Pennsylvania, Quakertown, PA. There's a lot of female wrestlers that are in that state area too, like Danny Moe, Facade. We want to have the like Autumn Breeze, which is an independent wrestler from Pennsylvania, not many people know about. Right here, Autumn Breeze, Autumn Breeze. Oh my God, there's so many wrestlers,
There's
male,
so
female. If you're
many.
looking
I
for
mean,
someone to interview with,
I'm gonna name drop some people that I would like to see on this podcast. I'm gonna be honest, guys. We were talking about our dream list, and a lot of my dream list is people that I have never had on my podcast, which was Richard Holiday, because he has taken a little break from wrestling. Now he's back and doing better than ever. So like kind of seeing that journey of his, and then it's like that we have Christian Rocco from the Monster Factory. First off, the Monster Factory is based in Jersey, and like it's a huge thing there. So it's like we want their roster too. Bring on Goldie, bring on Wild Boy Brian Morris, like Wonder Boy. I'm sorry, he's gonna hurt me if he's gonna comment in the comments like it's Wonder Boy. And with MCW, there's this guy named Ryan Zuko. We would love to have Ryan Zuko on. Like, guys, we have so many people that we want on, and honestly, we're not gonna do like, I know that in my previous podcast we were very scheduled of like these days we're filming. We're gonna work off the wrestlers. We're gonna work off the days that they're available and the days that we're available, and we're gonna put on a good show for you. It might not be every week, but we'll figure it out.
yeah,
It's
yep.
all a learning process. You guys are learning with us.
Yes, living on our feet. I always interviewed everybody that I can from all different parts of the world, and slowly we'll do that. I'll introduce you to wrestlers from England, Scotland, Sabrina. I'll even like if we can. There's a promotion that I was working with when I worked back in the day, and I recently did another interview with them from Coventry Pro Wrestling from London, England. That's a man. I even told the promoter. I said, "Man, I wish you guys could come to PA. That roster right there is it CPW versus PPW would blow the doors off that place in Slatington."
And who knows, maybe we'll do a live episode one day. One day, because, well, obviously not at PPW because I have a lot of stuff to do right there. But,
Yeah.
maybe we'll do a live show at MCW. Maybe we'll do a live show at CZW. We never know. You never know
Yeah.
what we're going to do on this podcast. We are starting out, today's Thursday, but this is going to go up a different day, obviously. But you guys are literally watching us, like our progress. Like, obviously, dudes at ringside, the Talk of the Ring show are kind of like combining a little bit. However, it's more like
Dudes of the talk ringside.
the dudes of the Talk Ring side, yeah. Because like obviously, like I took a step back from my podcast, and like you guys took a break from your podcast. Well, your partnership. And so it's kind of like this is new for us. So yeah, like you guys saw that we did that interview with Johnny Moran and we did the interview with Miami Mike, and we had great conversations, especially with Johnny Moran, such a sweetheart. And so this is kind of like we knew that we had a good connection of talking because Joe's a talker. And I just come in when I want to. Um, but obviously, like, you know, there's wrestlers that I've interviewed that he's gonna have on that, you know, we're gonna ask some questions, and there's gonna be wrestlers that he has had on his podcast that I have never interviewed, and obviously I'm gonna have questions. So it's a learning process for us, and I'm so excited to like embark on this journey because I love podcasting. Did I miss it when I was away? Absolutely. Was that break something I needed? Yeah. But I'm back. I'm better than ever, and Joe is more than willing to put up with me. So
Whoa, we're putting up with each other.
we're putting up with each other.
We're like parents of a child that were like, man, he's short and bald, but I don't know why the kid's bald, and he has a mustache at 18. We'll put up with it.
I gotta tell the story about how we met because in person, because pretty sure at some point you were like, oh my gosh, you're taller in person. And I was
Yes.
like, ah, and I was wearing flats that day, and I was still taller than you, which is like it was nice for me because I'm not taller than anybody.
Did you realize
So
I kind of fucked up and went through the wrong door?
did you go
I
through
was
the
on the
wrong
wrong side of
door?
the building.
I did not.
There you go. You tell your story, and then I'll tell my story when I met you that day. Go on, finish your story. I'm gonna interrupt this.
Yeah, no. So I remember seeing you. It was the first time I saw you was very like it was very passed by because I was doing so many things in the beginning of the show. But when I first saw you like really talk to you, it was when you were talking to SPF's Jimmy Conway, I believe.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, while you're here, let's get a photo together. And I was like, okay, not even thinking that like this, like, you know, would be a big podcast. Cause like this was also something that you and I talked about, but it was never like, this is what we're doing. Like right
Yeah.
now we're gonna do it. Um, so I was like, yeah, like let's take a picture together. And the moment we took the picture, I went, wow, he is short. Like that.
Yeah.
And you know, I met your dad there that day,
A
and you
Panther.
know, you guys were like everybody was just you guys were just so genuine, and like that day was like obviously very chaotic, and a lot of emotions were flowing that day. So like to see you guys and to see you guys be so genuine kind of like gave me the cement that I needed to be like, yeah, I want to go through and do this podcast. So that's my story.
Yeah. So here we go. Here goes Joe's story. And I like here's the intro for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in my head when I'm about to do this.
So
And
this is the story.
this is the story. Okay, me and Geek separated. I finally got a chance to do things on my own. I've done a bunch of episodes you saw on the variety show. I get my mom goes, "You want to go to a wrestling show?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to go to PPW." So I was telling Sabrina, you kept telling me about the 100th show. Fast
Mm-hmm.
forward, I get the tickets. I post a picture on the dude's page. I keep telling Sabrina, we get to Slatington, we get to the building. I walk inside, I'm walking around, take the bungle live, and there's a door. There's a side door. And I take a picture of the door, and you're like, where are you? I'm like, I'm here. And you're like, I don't know if you're on the right side. So I got told I was on the wrong fucking side of the building. Like, wrong door, idiot. So
And I had no idea. All I saw was your picture, and you were like, I was like, I don't know where that is at all.
I was like on the wrong side of the building. So they're like, we had to get out of the building, Sabrina, go completely walk around, and we're I smell the food because Panthers smell all fun's food when they walk. I was like, food, safety. I'm here, fat boy smells food. I'm here. I'm okay. So I was just like, and then I see people I didn't want to bump into, and I'm like, And then I see this awesome lady with the blonde hair sitting at the bar drinking with talking to the girls, and she's like, "Oh my god, hi, it's you Joe?" And then I'm a hugger, so I immediately gave her a backwards hug from behind, and her friends were like, "Oh, he's hugging."
I introduced you then because like it's hard because what they know and like a lot of the viewers that if you come from like my one of my old shows of the podcast, it's I say all the time like I don't like hugs. So like but I was fine. I was okay with it. And so it's like they just know me as like, oh, she doesn't like hugs, so why is this random dude hugging her? And I was like, no, like this is Joe. I did a few like podcasts with him. Because at that point we only had the two because we only have two podcasts together anyways. But we have three, but that was when I was in the podcast. And you like we were both with our podcast partners.
Yeah.
Um and so I saw you. I was like, this is great. And it's funny because I didn't think that I was going to be as busy as I was that day because I was like, okay, I'm gonna see Joe. We're gonna hang out for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go backstage. No, it was like as soon as I got there that day, it was like we decorated the ring. I had to go backstage and set up. I had to eat because I forget to eat sometimes when I'm doing something. And so, but the girls I was with were like, Sabrina, you got to eat something. And then like, I was just trying, and then my emotions were running high because I saw people, and I was like, there's a lot of people there. um, and the minute I got backstage, I'm kid you not, the anxiety didn't stop. Because I'll let you
Oh,
guys know this right
jeez.
now. It's so intense, but like not intense. It's just a lot of chaos backstage. So like I was just like it's intense. It's my first time doing this. Oh my gosh. And after the show, I remember you said, "How did it go?" And I was like, "It actually went really well." And it was that was I think a really good show for me. And I did I have to work that day? Yeah, I went right to work
I remember you
after
told me that. You
PPW.
were like, I tried to text you. I didn't get nothing back. I was like, is she either she passed out in a car, and the cops are going to be tapping her car window to get her wake up and to leave. Like,
I every okay, so like this is why I'm telling you guys, like if you guys have any suggestions, message jokes. Like I am terrible at actually checking my messages. Like right now, my phone is on do not disturb mode
always.
because it always is. It honestly is. Because like I just forget to take it off for work. And I'll be honest, I just like to nap a lot. So
She's part cat fan. She's
I
like,
I
that's why
really
we
am.
hang out on Panther. She's a cat. You know.
I really am. Cause like so like again, if you guys have any suggestions, that is your guy over there. He'll pass the word on to me. I know I'll eventually get back to him. Um, because today, I'm pretty sure today was like the fastest time I've actually like messaged you back. Cause you were like,
Oh yeah.
hey, Dudes at Ringside, I had something set up, but they canceled on me. So do you want to do this episode? I was like, absolutely. Like, just let me get my laptop. And it's funny because I was packing for my trip that I'm not gonna tell anybody that I'm where I'm going until Hellfire's episode
Yeah.
because that's literally like right before I leave. So I was packing for my trip and I just got done overpacking because I do that all the time. And I popped up my laptop, set up the old selfie light and the other light, and it feels so weird to have like the lights back on and the earphone back in and talking to my camera. Like it's weird. I'm not gonna lie, guys. But it's kind of
You'll
like
get used
riding a
to it.
bike.
You'll get
It's like
used to it
riding,
again.
yeah.
When you don't
It's like
worry.
riding. It's like riding a bike, guys. It's like you have to just keep getting on that bike and just doing it. But I will make a plug in here because I am part of PPW. Um, if you guys are interested, August 12th, we are having it's called the Badlands.
Badlands,
Uh,
yes, Badlands.
Badlands.
Wish I was paying for the service of StreamYard. I would show the poster, but I
Well,
can't.
I have the poster. So I got you. I got you guys. They've already announced 3 really good matches. And so the poster is this. Let me zoom in here. And then so let me see, done. Save to photos. So if I go to my photos, see guys, this is a learning process. This is what I'm talking about. We're learning social media. So this is the poster for it.
Awesome.
You got your Mecca, you got Primal Fear, Miles Hawkins, Bro Keller, and like obviously, if you guys were there last time, Bro Keller and Miles Hawkins ended in a draw. Nobody likes a draw.
Nobody.
And so now they're having a rematch. And Joe, it was a good thing you weren't there last time, and I'll tell you why. It was stifling hot.
Mm.
It was hot outside. It was hot inside. And I felt bad for the wrestlers because, like we as guests, we can sit down, we can cool off. They cannot.
Nope.
So like guys were so like drenched in sweat. The audience drenched in sweat. It was because like they had those big fans, but the big fans kept cutting off. So yeah, that's the plug I had to make, guys, because of PPW. PPW is my home. So obviously, I think we're gonna talk about this now. That thing. I think that since we are podcast people, I eventually want to have the Hard and Soft podcast on our
Oh
channel
yeah.
with us.
I love those guys. My homies right there.
They are one of the first. I met them before I met you guys. So, yeah, but like I think that I definitely want to keep the community that we were trying to do over on my old show is like, keep the podcasters together. Cause in this, in this day and age, guys, us podcasters got to stick together, whether, we don't like each other as much or like we don't talk about the same things. Like podcasters have to stick together.
Yeah. You do. You really do, Sabrina. It's hard because nowadays with wrestling, either you talk about the main bar, the
Mhm.
AEWs, the WWEs, the Impacts, the NWAs, or you talk about the the indies, your local area promotions, the PPWs, the House of Pains, the Smash Wrestling, the WWA from Pennsylvania, the VPWs, the NYWCs. There's so many. It's independent wrestling these days, Sabrina. I don't know if you agree with me. Independent wrestling these days is so white hot that it's hard to determine on what who do you focus in on? Do you focus in
And
on the big guys in
yeah,
your state, or do you focus in on the smaller guys like the House of Pains or the Smash Wrestling
Smash
or
Master.
like
It's crazy. I'll be honest, like there's a lot of shows around me that like they're so different from each other. Like you have PPW, I like very like you walk in there, you feel like you're home. You feel like a very family reunion like vibe. And then you have MCW where it's like it feels like you are at a WWE thing. It's just a smaller venue and you have your TV champion, which actually, when we did the podcast with Mike, he was the TV champion. But you have Miles Hawkins with the TV champion. Like, but you have all these like different people, and then CZW is more of like combat wrestling. Like they go smashing into doors. They do like these vulgar matches. It's like you never know what you're going to be expecting when you're going to an indie show.
isn't another one
And
AXW
so
also?
AXW is in Hamburg and it's actually at the Hamburg Fieldhouse. And for those of you guys that are very familiar with the Hamburg Fieldhouse, that's where they used to shoot episodes of WWE or F. I think it was
Yes.
F at the time. But this was a very historical building, and so that's a nice one. Like, and when you walk in there, you think, oh my gosh, what am I gonna get myself into? And a lot of the guys that come to that one are from Monster Factory, so it's kind of like two worlds colliding. So each independent show that I've gone to is a little bit different than the next, and in the best way possible. Like when I went to PPW, I thought that was all independent wrestling was. And then I went to Smash Master, and he kind of brought this like I saw the dog collar match, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. Um, and it kind of like I'm not gonna lie, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And then I went and I met like obviously with Miami Mike and Miles Hawkins being from MCW. I went to an MCW show. No, I went to a CZW show first, and that was when they were still in Jersey, and it was just like a very close knit group. And now they've expanded another in Haverday Grace, Maryland, and it's a state theater that they're at, and so like it's a theater based thing, and like they're right in front of you, and it's intense because like the wrestlers come instead of like them coming out this way and not really seeing the audience as much, they come down the aisle ways to see you.
Wow.
um yeah, it's amazing there. I love it. And then my next one was MCW, and MCW I actually got introduced to by Keikoa, because as everybody knows from the beginning of the episode, Keikoa I've known since 14 years old. um and Keikoa I haven't seen in like 10 years, so I'm aging myself profusely. But
I can see your hair going gray, and
I
you're
know,
like,
and I just
your
got
hair
it
looks
done
so
today.
pretty. Don't do that to yourself.
I know. So, when I went to an MCW is just like, they have two places there usually are. They're at usually or three. They're usually at this Fifth Brewing Company, which is the first place I saw them, and then a week later they were in Hollywood, Maryland,
Mm.
and just from those two shows combined, it was such a different experience. Like at the Brewing Company, it was nice. I had the seat right next to the entranceway, so I got to see, Miami Mike and Hellfire come out, and it was nice. And then I got to kind of like heckle them on the way back, which I love. I love my heckling guys, and you guys will know that. Like when we have guests on, I will heckle them. Of course, I'll heckle them.
Yeah.
It's my job. I'm the heel, right? So, then when I went to Hollywood, Maryland, they actually had a stage with a ramp going down, so
Wow.
that it's kind of like, yeah, here I am, and like they had flat screens, like projector things, like
Yeah.
right on the sides, so they would show like, you know Miles Hawkins and his music would play, and it would say like a little like his little introductory, like his name, and he would come down the ramp, and that was a different experience. And so I think right now, yeah, PPW is my home, but if I had to choose, which I'm gonna, if I had to choose a different company, it would be MCW, because they just had Fan Jam, which was with your Mickey James was there. Renee was there doing her like talk show thing. The Hardys were there. Like I got to see so many people that like I grew up watching. Like Mickey James, I was watching for a while when she had like a rivalry with Kelly Kelly, if everybody remembers Kelly Kelly. And I'm just like, I'm in awe of like how indies have grown over the years. Cause like when I saw indies at 14, it was in a baseball field.
What?
Actually, no. No, it was behind a oh my gosh. Guys, it was behind a VA, like a veterans thing, like a veterans club thing.
Mm.
It was like, so here's the building. It was like right behind, and then right behind the ring was like townhouses. So like it was in this little backyard area, and I was like, what kind of hillbilly thing is this?
what what
Um,
kind of what kind of crazy family am I getting involved in right now?
right. Like I was like, what is happening? And but you know what? Like going to that show has opened up so many friendships for me, especially in the wrestling industry. And like Jimmy Conway and SPF, they're like my ride or die people. And obviously they're on the list, guys. That's why I keep saying their name. But SPF will always be like day one for me, because they were the ones that made me feel so welcome to come into this crazy industry. And they're still in it, and they're still like obviously, their techniques have changed over the years because it's been 10 years and they're not spring chickens like they used to be. And I can say that because they're my friends. So it's going to be crazy to see all these wrestlers that we're going to have on and see like where they came from. You know what I mean? Because like I know SPF probably has a lot of stories. Like I mean, they go back way back. So I can only imagine the stories that are going to be shared on this podcast. Um, all I ask is like be kind in the comments. Like I mean, these wrestlers, they've taken time out of their day to come onto the podcast. So if you're not really a fan of them, just be nice. Don't
Just
comment
watch
anything
and have
negative.
fun. You know what I
Just
mean?
watch. You know, like maybe after the podcast, you guys will be like, "Oh, they're a nice person," you know, because I feel like we just get caught up in like they're just a character. You know what I mean? Like they're a character, and like you think that that's who they are. So my goal for this podcast is for you guys to kind of open up your horizons also, and like maybe become a fan of Hellfire McGuire after we have his interview if you're not being really a big fan of him now, or anybody else who we have on this podcast. Like, am I a fan of Hellfire? Guess you're gonna have to tune in to find out.
Yeah. So, in closing, I just want to say that I'm super fucking excited to start this. We pulled the trigger and the lights went on and the awesome logo of the fireworks went off when you did started the show. I can't wait to have Hellfire on the episode part two of episode the
Part
part
two
two
of
of this
episode one.
adventure. I can't wait to have a new co-host in the you're in the it's usually me and Sassy. I usually have a female. I always that's my twin. So twins at ringside is the other thing I do. So it's good to have not my twin that I will be working with, and I really, really can't wait to work with you and work with more female wrestlers that want to work with us. Because not only do I want to interview men, I want to interview women, like everybody. Like it doesn't matter who you are or where you are or what sexual you. Everybody matters. It does not matter who you are or what you believe in. I want to hear your stories, and I know Sabrina wants to hear your stories. Thank
And a
you,
little
Sabrina.
and a little bit of heckling, guys. We're
Yeah,
gonna
and
heckle.
heckling too. We're gonna get a little heckling go. A little haters, the haters, the haters.
If you don't know what heckling means, go watch Dudes at Ringside podcast with Miami Mike. You'll know what heckling means.
Oh my god, that episode was great. Thank you so much, Sabrina. This was absolutely fantastic to open up the doors to this new now fourth podcast for me.
This is my second.
Yeah, Jesus, I feel like a dad. I'm like, how many kids I got? Becky, Jonna. I don't know anymore. I got too many damn kids.
And I'm over here. I'm
Damn
over here like
kids.
I have two. I had one, then now I have another one. So like,
It's
no
like
more for
I'm
Sabrina.
like, oh god, I'm turning myself into the guy from The Simpsons, the redneck guy that has the two teeth in his mouth.
Oh my
Becky,
gosh.
Jonah, that's me. I'm that guy. I don't know where all my kids are. I know they're here somewhere. All right, I'm Joe Panther the third,
And I'm Savvy.
and we will see you backstage in the next one. Duck and cover, it's melee.